나무 묘호랭개교 나무 묘호랭개교 나무 묘호랭개교 Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Language is a problem. Welcome. I hope this podcast finds you in good health and secure. Believe me, those two things are precious now more than ever. Language is indeed a very, very big problem. Why do I say this? Well, you've heard me rail enough times about the incorrect use of words in translations that are extremely misleading. But I just had a confrontation this morning, a debate, an argument, where I had to point out that the forces of language in cultures is inculcated. It's like a tick burrowed deep within the flesh of our conscious lives as samsaric beings. And it begins with, before we have the ability to use language at all, when we hear the goo goo gagas and isn't she pretty and aren't you, look at the big strong baby, the inculcated impressions and language that we simply are constantly, our brains are constantly pounded with. We grow into our ability to communicate with these insipid, false impressions in our daily lives. And then later, when something comes along that allows us to attain the full potential of what we can be, these same words twist our minds, twists our understanding, and muddies the waters. And it's a wonder that any of us end up actually connecting with Buddha, given the amount of obstacles that are in our bloodstream to get the hell out of the way so we can see clearly. And that's language. It's a poisoned well. Why do I say this? Well, first of all, I want to explain something that I've explained many, many times, but I'm going to try again in brief. If we talk about the engine of life, as you've heard me talk about, this entire universe, the entire function of the universe. I don't want to say purpose because that sounds like consciousness, yeah? Let's just talk real rational, reasonable. I'm going to try to use whatever vestiges of language I know that are factually based, that are clear in their meaning. Right? I've talked about the universe from the incredibly small, the pre-universe, the stasis of energy in quietude, quiescent energy, not really doing anything, no work being done, no action being taken. And in that moment, there is no moment. There is no time. There is no mass. There is no space. Follow? And then a spark. Energy is perturbed. And perturbed energy is energy with some functionality that's very, very rudimentary. This is what we talk about in Buddhism as the formations. There's not a form yet, but there's not nothing. There's some process, some work, some action imbuing a tendency, a condition. And then maybe nothing again. Or maybe that tendency and condition rattles energy around it, and other tendencies and conditions precipitate from those, and in some measure, in some collection, something actually forms. And once that happens, there's a resonance, there's a flooding outward of concomitant, don't say it that way, Sylvain, of reactions to that action. And already, energy plus action, we're talking about karma. Please know that that's what karma is. Karma is energy with action. Doesn't matter where it's going, what it's doing, why it's doing, and all those questions, irrelevant. This is just energy doing what it does when it has shape, form, energy being pushed, acting, tendencies, and conditions. Those are the two words. And from that moment on, that reverberates throughout, because the moment, that first moment something is formed, then it's like elbow room. Once there's a formation, there is time and space. Minute as that might be, there it is. That's the beginning. And then it does what it does. It continues to grow and grows via its growth and spreads, and then there's more space, more time. And whether you call it the Big Bang or the big expansion or the explosion, whatever you want to call it, everything you and I experience in this universe is of that action. And the reactions constantly building more time, space, more formations of form, which are all fundamentally just the energy doing its thing. And it could, well, we don't even know how immense this universe is, but the entirety of it is that. But does the universe know that it's doing that? Now, right away, this is where many people will glaze, because we've been pile drive this idea in our minds that there's something else in control. And I can't disabuse you enough of that baloney, that magical thinking. Remember in the other video I talked about the dog that hears a noise, gets up? Where's agency? Who's doing that? What's doing that? It's just doing itself. It has no consciousness. It's just doing what its tendencies and conditions obviate it to do. It just keeps doing it. If you think about it, it makes sense that it's so out of control. It's so immense. It's inconceivable because it's just going. It's like we used to call it in the 80s a China syndrome when we talked about nuclear energy. We'll put a hole to China through the earth. It's that once it starts, it won't stop. It just keeps going. But here's on a smaller scale, an analogy kind of question I want to pose to you. In your internal combustion engine in your car, hopefully you have an electric car, but same question. Does the fuel in your car, as it makes its way from its storage, like the gas tank, through the tubes and the pump and going into the atomizer, the carburetor, being pressurized in a cylinder and then sparked to explode, so it pushes the cylinder away and through gears and so forth creates momentum. Does it know that it's doing that? Does the fuel you put in your car to give you momentum through a chain of events, is it aware that it's doing that? Does it know? Silly, stupid question. I understand. But this is the level of the argument that I have to take apart when somebody insists to me that the word faith means different things. That I understand, Sifu Sylvain, when you say faith is not a Buddhist word, because it always refers to religiosity. And that's a mistake to think that. What faith refers to is a conscious influence from outside your mind. That is the insult. Because that means that the fuel in your gas tank knows what it's doing. It's ridiculousness on top of ridiculous. And then I get well, what about when I say I have faith in myself? And I get so upset. Do you not realize that in that statement, what you're actually saying, but it's self-esteem? No, it is not. If it was self-esteem, if it was a knowing of your capacity, you would have confidence, not faith. Faith is saying you're an empty vessel. Faith is giving over your confidence, your self-esteem. You have absolutely no self-esteem, because what you're saying when you say you have faith in yourself is that you are certain that the almighty powers, whatever they're spaghetti monsters in the sky, or God, or Christ, or Muhammad, or whatever, is somehow imbuing you with greatness, with ability. Because that gives it to me, I have it. That is incredibly non-Buddhist. That is saying that the gasoline in the tank is completely conscious and knows what it's doing when it heads out to the carburetor to give your car momentum. It knows. And therefore, my car works. I have faith in my car. It's so ridiculous upon ridiculous. So here's another way to see this whole thing. You, me, all we sentient minds are the mind of the universe. We are the consciousness of the universe. The universe is the engine of life, just like the engine in your car. The universe has incredible momentum. Yeah, it's still expanding. Does it know it's expanding? No. You and I know it's expanding. We are the mind of the universe. Take some time and think about that. Because that is the situation. That is the truth. That is the Lotus Sutra. Self-realizing Buddha is the awareness of the engine of life, the entire universe. We are that consciousness. So when Nichiren talks about original enlightenment, that's what he's talking about. He's recognizing, he's saying that with our ninth consciousness, our Buddha awareness, that when we awaken that in our minds, which is an emergent property of this universe, that same momentum of karma, that unfathomable number of energies and contortions and tendencies and conditions of which each one of us is a packet of, finally, after all of these billions of years of these interreactions, we have manifested an apparatus of being that has consciousness, that is aware of the entire drama that is the universe, life. Without our minds, your mind, our minds, there is no awareness. Pluto doesn't know this. Jupiter doesn't know this. Andromeda doesn't know this. There's no Oort cloud in the universe that's kicking back going, man, I'm doing a good job. I mean, be reasonable. Now, if you get that even a little bit, doesn't that suggest that this opportunity, this moment of consciousness, is unfathomably precious? Wow, this is it. I get it. You get it. Every time we get it is immense, beyond comprehension. That is what we're doing when we chant Namu Myoho Renge Kyo to our Honzon. Our Honzon is that awareness. It's enough to bring you to tears, isn't it? It is astounding. Everything else is just the process of that. Wow. I mean, I keep saying it, but language keeps trying to diminish that. I'm telling you, I sometimes get to the point where all I want to do is try to sit in contemplation of that precise thing, just that awareness. Unfortunately, then I'm not being a bodhisattva. I'm just being very short-circuited, very selfish, very arhat-like, in liberating myself. See ya. But how can I do that? Because the awareness that I, quote, self-ego have is yours. It's every sentient mind's. It's so immense. How can I, Sylvain, contain it? So to the commenter who's talking about fair, is life fair? Oh man, what in the hell are you talking about? Life's not fair. Are you serious? What's not fair about it? You're a conscious mind. You are the ultimate of fairness. You perceive the entire universe, the engine of life. If something in your samsaric life isn't to your liking, change it. How is anything more fair than that? It's all yours. Fair? Is there an arbiter here other than you? Yeah, well, that cop didn't need to pull me over and give me a ticket. That's not fair. It was your momentum, maybe quite literally, that brought that into your environment. It's not the cop's fault that you were there at a particular time doing a particular thing that cost his or her particular attention. That's just the process. Chant. Change that. Don't manifest or attract or pull those energies toward you. Don't do it. It's not the cop's fault. The issue of fairness is like the issue of faith. Somebody, something, somewhere, something is doing something to me. No. That never, ever is the situation. You are perceiving what is happening. And if you don't like what is happening, then influence it so that your perception moves, your momentum moves in a way that is completely allowed to express itself. Allowed? Terrible word. That it moves into tendencies and conditions that are in congruence with your tendencies and conditions. How is that harder to understand than running into obstacles? If you watch boiling water and you see the bubbles going, and a lot of them are going in the same directions, but even if you watch closely, they don't go straight up to the top of the water. They wiggle around. They move around on their way up because they're making their way. So be like boiling water. Know that you're oxygen trapped in a boiling medium and you need to get out. Just get out. Don't blame the water around you. It's I don't know how many times I need to describe this, but anyway, All of that, I hope you found that at least entertaining. What was that? 20 minutes of ranting, sorry. But we're going to read a Gosho now from Nichiren Shonin. The Differences of the Lotus Sect. And the differences, I know, everything we read about is differences, right? But what's interesting about this Gosho is it's going to talk about definitions of Buddha. And boy, don't we struggle with that. The 3,000 realms in a single thought moment are Buddha. What? Yeah. The 10 worlds, the 10 realms, with the 10 factors and the 100 realms and the 1,000 this and that. That's Buddha. But I thought you said Namo Myoho Renge Kyo is Buddha. Well, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo is thus I have heard, thus I know, thus my stubborn human mind can actually be Buddha. Myoho Renge Kyo. How is Myoho Renge Kyo Buddha? Why are there 2 words or 5 words or whatever you want to call them? Because we have a samsaric mind of cataloging. We need to give our mind of cataloging a formula that references, oh yeah, the engine of life. Oh yeah, equanimity. Oh yeah, the differences are just, they're like the differences of the molecules of water in the ocean. They're all ocean. The reason there's a molecule in the ocean around Antarctica that thinks of itself as separate from the ocean off of the coast of Prince Edward Island in the North Atlantic is ego. And the fact of the matter is, both those drops of water can understand that, which is amazing. But at the same moment as they understand that, they cease to be different. And isn't that amazing? So when we talk about Buddha, Buddhahood, your Buddha, my Buddha, when we talk about the 3 bodies of Buddha, this is all fallible language trying to discuss that realization. It's really, 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 really basic. It's really simple. But oh my, do we complicate it with words. And that's all I do on this channel is talk words. So yeah, sometimes I think I should just shut up or just chant with you. Because that's the most effectual. But gosh, if we don't use words, if we don't use Sangha, then we miss so many opportunities in life, in these tendencies and the conditions, to recognize Buddha, Buddha, Buddha. Oh, Buddha. And sometimes, oh, not Buddha. Because that's a mirror. Whenever you recognize not Buddha, that's you getting in the way. That's your attachment to something. Language. Now I'm wondering if we shouldn't just chant for a while. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. I'm struggling a little bit with this. Give me your thoughts. The Hashu Imoku Sho. The introduction says that this treatise is believed to have been written in the 9th year of the Bunei era in 1272. again, around that Sado Island period, right? Although some scholars insist that it was written in the 10th year of the same era, it is a letter addressed to Toki Jonin, our buddy Toki Jonin, the Nyudo, right? The lay monk. Or all disciples of Nichiren Shonin. Well, kind of the same thing, right? Because if I write a letter to one of you who I know is in communication with several other Lotus Sutra Buddhists, and you guys get together on occasion to discuss Buddhism and your practice of Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, then I knowingly write a letter to you that includes deeper thoughts and teachings and analysis of this practice, because I'm quite confident that what I share with you will be shared with others, and thusly propagate Lotus Sutra Buddhism. It's not a stretch, is it? So, whether it was addressed to Toki Jonin alone or all disciples of Nichiren Shonin, same thing. See, these are the kind of things academics preoccupy themselves with arguing about. It's meaningless, dogmatic one-upism, and that's what ends up screwing up the language. It reveals the differences in the question and answer style, right, the formal Chinese style, between the Lotus Sect and the 8 other Buddhist schools. Well, there aren't just 8 other Buddhist schools, but in Nichiren's day, there were 8 other strongholds of authoritarianism calling themselves the Buddhist school in Japan. So understand the context, right? And these specific schools were the Kusha, Jojitsu, Ritsu, Kigan, Sanran, Hoso, Shingon, and Pure Land, or Jodo, regarding the most venerable one, the Honzon, and the 3,000 existences contained in one thought doctrine. There we are. At the core, the most complex language we have in Buddhism to discuss this simple fact that everything in the universe is of one origin, of tendencies and conditions, multiplying out to manifest every potential combination of energies, momentum, karma, ad nauseum. It just keeps creating to a point where it's repetitive. There is nothing else to create. And to stick with the universe in this analogy, that the creation of this, think about this, you science lovers. Think about this pinpoint formation moment when the first tendency and condition manifests and starts to participate, jostle other tendencies and conditions to blow up into, let's just go with the Big Bang thing or the big expansion, whatever you want to call it. And to end up with, and I apologize for the language here, but to end up with a black hole, which is the precise opposite of the Big Bang. Something with so much energy that it sucks energy into itself. And what the black hole is doing, stick with me now, is everything that falls into a black hole falls into a black hole. Everything absorbed by a black hole is by definition a variety of expressions, of instantiations of tendencies and conditions, right? Every mineral, gas, molecule, atom, photon, all different forms of energy getting sucked into this black hole. And what does the black hole spit back out? Anyone? It radiates heat. It's like the ultimate trash compactor. Everything that goes into it disassembles, reverses process, disassembles into its fundamental quietude energy. Nothing's lost, right? The information paradox. The information is a construct. The construct is gone. It's just things arise, endure as they decay, and then what's the opposite of arise? Extinction? The entire universe is doing exactly as everything does. This is how all things arise, endure, decay, and extinctify. They go away, they dissolve, they become quiet energy. No thing, nomina. Nomina, phenomena, nomina. The phenomena, all here, simply to be experienced, to be seen, to be observed, to be aware of, for a moment, for a time. By whom? Sentient mind. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. The 3,000 existence, the 3,000 realms, the 3,000 whatever you want to call them. Here, I'll give them our name. This is our sect, right? And so I'm going to call it the 3,000 combinations of tendencies or accumulations of tendencies and conditions. The 3 trillion potential combinations of tendencies and conditions, all experienced in one thought moment. That's what we're calling it now. That's the doctrine. I just chose different words to describe the same thing. Because, get this, if nothing else. When you perceive, I don't care if it's a glass of water, your shoes are too tight, you shouldn't be wearing them if you're in front of your Butsudan. How somebody feels about you, what the cost of your electric bill is, whatever you perceive in that moment is a perception built upon the entirety of the universe. And you know what makes it easier to understand that? Is that if you subtract from that language equation I just made, if you subtract from it the idea of time-space, then everything expressed in this universe collapses to this moment. It doesn't go away, it just collapses to this moment. So anything in this moment that you're identifying is a result of everything in this moment. The entirety of the universe in this one moment. That's what this is trying to say. Tendai knew this. Shakyamuni knew this. You know this. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. First, regarding the Honzon. Nichiren declares that the Buddha possesses the permanent three bodies, while all living beings are equipped with the three kinds of Buddha nature inherently. Yeah, Buddha nature inherently. Because if you take time and space out of it, we are the universe. And our mind, it is its awakening, its awareness, its enlightenment, its consciousness. And that, my friends, is the Honzon. The Honzon is this mind ability within the construct of the universe. This mind is the light in the attic that sees the entirety of the universe. And of course it's inherent. And that other schools or sects have not preached Shakyamuni Buddha possessing the three virtues of Lord, Master, and Parents since the eternal past. Lord. I'd like to replace that word too, because that's misleading as hell. I know what I just said. If you can perceive your mind's alertness, Honzon, enlightenment, to the entirety of the universe in this one moment, then are you not lording over it? Think of Lord that way. Pointing out that the three schools of Kusha, Jujitsu, Ritsu uphold the Buddha Shakyamuni with accommodative body as their Honzon, that each of the Kigon, Sanron, Hoso sects worship the Buddha Shakyamuni with three different bodies, and that the Honzon for the Shingon sect is the great Sun Buddha, and that of the Jodo sect is the Buddha of infinite life, Nichiren Shonin criticizes them for not respecting the eternal Buddha Shakyamuni with three bodies and one as their father, which is exactly what I've been saying, but with different words. These words can be very confounding because they're somebody else's words translating the words of a great teacher who's translating the words of the greatest teacher, Shakyamuni. It's been stepped on too many times. So what does this mean? We know the three bodies, right? The manifest, the dharma, and the reward. And in this translation, they refer to the manifest body as the accommodative body. Maybe that's a better word. In other words, this human form accommodates a mind. Right? And that mind can perceive this great fact of our presence, our understanding, our experience of the entirety of the universe's engine of life. That's a reward. But we wouldn't experience that reward in our minds without having this accommodative body to manifest the mind. You see how they're all really the same thing. The Dharma body being the wisdom to perceive. Yeah? The reward being the perception within this manifest, accommodative body-mind. And because, as I said earlier, all three of those aspects of our minds are none other, not different from the initial process to the very final process of this instantiation of the universe, it's a singular thing. And that is the story, the teaching, the instantiation, the I don't want to use the word purpose, the advent of Shakyamuni, Buddha, right now. There's no difference between him and you and I. We're all that same awakening. Our paths, our tendencies and conditions, our momentum to this point are individual. Just like that drop of water by Antarctica got to that geographic point, and the drop of water by the other end, the other side, the other end of the world got to its point, it's still, in the moment it realizes that water is no different from anything else, they're not separated anymore. That separation is the illusion in time-space. One doesn't negate the other. What gets negated is the separation, the perception of separation. That's why equanimity. As for the 3,000 existences contained in one thought moment doctrine, Nichiren declares that although the Kigon and Shingon sects utilize that teaching in their theologies, and that's interesting because theology is religion and Buddhism is not. Theology. The truth of Ichinen Sanzen is not found in the Flower Garland Sutra. Only the Lotus Sutra clearly teaches the doctrine of Chikai-goku, characteristics of each of the 10 realms of beings contained in the other 9 realms, and Ichinen Sanzen, the 3,000 existences contained in one thought moment. In other words, in the Lotus Sutra, the entirety of experience, the entirety of the universe is collapsed into one thought moment. All right. I'm going to stop there because I've hammered on some pretty big concepts here. And I want to give you an opportunity to breathe, to really consider, maybe download the audio podcast of this and really listen to it. Really chant about it. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who are confused about meditation, when I talk about meditation, I'm talking about chanting Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Any of you who've listened to my channel for a while will know that I call Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, when you sit in front of your Butsudan, you focus on your perfect mirror to Honzon, that mandala, and you penetrate that awareness of Buddha. That is active meditation. That you are putting an action to the massive compendium of energy that you are, and you're focusing all of it onto Buddha, this perception. That is an action applied to all of the energies that you represent, that you are manifesting. And with every daimoku, you are manifesting all of those unfathomable number of energies. Buddha. If that's not an action, I don't know what is. This is the power of the Lotus Sutra. This is the power of your Buddhahood. Your penetrating Buddha. It's an active meditation. When I say meditation, I don't talk about contemplating your navel and waiting for something to happen. That's religion. The universe is you, and you are the universe. I always think of that Motown song, So Perfect. Everything is you. You are everything. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you deeply to those patrons on Patreon, and donators through paypal.me/Sifu Sylvain. You guys keep me doing this. You keep this channel alive. If not for you, I think I might just go off into that good night. So, I mean it. Thank you. The rest of you, keep on chanting. Your practice is precious. More precious than I could possibly express. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. I'll see you in the next one. Okay? Bye for now.